welcome back to another episode of the Whole Potato Podcast. Today, I have one of my team members, Natalie. She is the education coordinator for Unstoppable God Ministries. I think, Natalie, have we recovered from conference week?
I think we have now caught up on sleep a week, 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I think it takes about that much time. My body is a little bit sore, which I was confused by until I went back and looked at videos and realized not only was I like dancing and running around a campus, but I also had a top bunk this year.
Yeah, I did think about that later.
7 out of 10, don't recommend.
And the videos are you and Keaton singing about me getting fired, and I'm just laughing in the corner.
Yeah, well, when you put me on the spot like that, I don't know what lyrics to come up with. Well, today, Natalie and I just kind of wanted to talk and kind of just discuss conference weekend, how we saw God move, and just what the weekend was like. And I did an episode with Keaton before conference, kind of sharing a little bit about what we were going to talk about. So I thought doing a follow-up episode would be fun, especially for parents who had campers at conference this year. So Natalie, it was your second conference overall. Tell me, what was your favorite part of UGC this year?
I really feel like this year our team and everybody was just clicking. So all the campers were so comfortable. Our team was thriving, and so everyone knew their spot and what they needed to be doing. And so it was just really cool to be able to see the growth of our campers, because we all were all right, this is year 3, year 2 for some of us, we were really ready to go. And so it was really cool to get to see that pour into our campers, and we weren't so worried about anything else, and we just got to see them grow. And it's really sweet whenever you can see kind of the switch flip for our campers, and they're playing funny games and dressed up in silly costumes, and then they ask you a question or make a statement, and you're like, whoa, we're really learning, we're growing. And it's really sweet that we get to be, that God trusts us to walk alongside of them and help them grow too. And it kind of just shows how much we grow too over a conference, how big of an impact it's making.
Yeah, I think I said halfway through conference, I was like, dude, I am not stressed out. I feel like I just really enjoyed this weekend. I think, and that's nice because, sure, it is about the campers, but you want your team to be happy, and you want everyone to feel good, and you want everyone to get something out of the weekend. And I thought it was fun. I felt like it was relaxed. I really loved having a campsite to ourselves. We wound up being the only ones at our campsite. And so I think that was helpful too, because we could kind of be anywhere. And I think our campers knew they can spread out, and, and even just having that separate, having a sanctuary for worship. I feel like it almost I think it helped hone in at the right time, and it gave that, okay, now it's time to switch into worship.
Yeah,
I think that was helpful. Yeah, for sure.
Sessions and worship and everything, so that was sweet to see too.
Yeah, so let's just kind of start from the beginning of the weekend. So we had camper check-ins. We were at a new campsite this year, which was different, but I think it was really awesome. So we had a huge, it's called Inspiration Lodge. And that is where the campers and counselors were. There's different rooms and different levels in the lodge. And so I think it was really nice to have everyone together. And we even got to have breakfast there. So when we checked in, I feel like that was the quickest 30 minutes of my life. It always is.
Yes.
Check-in goes so fast.
Yeah, 10 minutes, and I was like, all right, who are we missing? And Chloe's like, people. I was like, great, so they're all here.
Really, everyone was there ready to go, which was nice, because then our schedule wasn't bad. But
yes.
So we had our kickoff party. So this year we decided to do our party at the beginning of the year and kind of kick it all off. And so we had animals all over the place. What was your favorite animal costume you saw?
Okay, I really liked EJ's sloth. But also Alexandria's koala, because it was just smaller. You only see her eyeballs. And I was like, where is Alexandria? And she was there the whole time.
I'm going to tattle on myself here, because So Nat and I had a room together in our lodge, and at the end of the evening, like all of a sudden sat up and was like, "Is Alexandria here?" And Natalie was like, "She was the sloth, Krystian." Like, yes, she's here. And I remember smiling at a sloth, but like I did not put two and two together, which was awesome. Like, I guess I figured she was here because I definitely would have heard if one of our counselors didn't show
Yeah.
up. And I'm pretty sure I talked to her at the meeting, but for whatever reason, I then like was so concerned that maybe she wasn't here today. Yeah, she was a great sloth. I feel like you should give yourself some credit for your hairstyle.
Oh,
You were a lion.
the mane.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
anything for a good costume.
Yeah, I should have taken notes because I'm going to be a lion tonight at our church's trunk or treat. And I
Oh,
literally was like, I don't know how I'm going to do my hair. So
you should have borrowed
I
the
might go back and find
ears and
photos of
tail.
you. What?
You should have borrowed the ears and tail.
I know. I should have thought about that. Gosh. So the kickoff party was fun. We played some fun games. We had some food, but listen, you got ice cream and corn dogs and nachos.
You can get anything
Herb
done.
combo. I mean, that's all you need for a party. Just turn
That's
on some
camp.
music, and that's UGC all wrapped up. That's what it is. And then we had session one. We talked about Noah walking with God. So talk about the booklets that you made because I think those were so cool. And there's actually a really adorable picture of you with one of the campers using the booklets, which I'm sure is nice to see that your booklets are helpful.
Yes, a lot of work was put into them, so it is nice to see when they're helpful. This year they had just like black and white pictures in them, and so they could fill in the blank with the word or the pictures. And then during their breakout groups, they had stickers that they could match to the picture that was the correct answer. So during the session, words would pop up on the screen that were in yellow, and the picture on the screen would match the booklet, so they could follow along easily and they could catch on to which one went where. And then afterwards, their counselors helped go through each question with them, making sure they had the right sticker in the right spot or they circled the right one. And then there was also a free notes page. So some of our campers that just like to sit and listen and take notes on the whole thing, instead of answering the 5 questions we gave them, were able to take notes on what song they sang or what camper they sat with, and then also throughout the whole session just what they learned and what we talked about. So sometimes it's really fun to go back through and like read their journals if they'll show them to you. So a lot of them get so excited and they're like, hey, look what I wrote or look what I learned. And so it's really sweet to see the growth too, and the fact that they're so excited about it too is so fun.
Yeah, well, and I like how, I mean, I feel like you did such a good job at like meeting all the different levels that we have at conference. Because we do have some friends who love to take free notes and are able to write things. And we have friends who need the pictures and the visuals. And so I think it's been helpful. Like, sure, it's a lot more work to, we have to have our sessions done months in advance. And I mean, there's so much more planning that goes in on the front end of things, but I feel like it pays off when you see campers that are following along. I know you said that you were with one of our boys, and it was so exciting to like watch him like see the pictures, and he was like circling and like very much following along.
Yeah.
I
And
think
he was,
yeah, that's just so cool.
yeah, I sat with him thinking like, okay, like he was a new camper this year. I was like, maybe I'll just sit with him, make sure he's following along, that he's getting what we hope he gets. And so the first time a picture popped up on the screen, I was like, oh, which one matches? Like, which word are we talking about right now? And he went right to it and circled it. And then the next time a picture popped up, I didn't have to say anything, and he just went right to it and circled the right one. And so it was really cool to see, like, even as someone who was like new, he was new to conference and he was making friends and he was jumped right in and was following right along. So it's really cool to see when they're like registering what we're talking about too.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, you had stickers this year, so like you're
No
not a
one can
regular
say
education coordinator. You're a cool education coordinator.
I'm the fun education coordinator.
You are. one of the sticker packs got back to my house. It's all the stickers that weren't used. Like it was from a camper's pack that she left. And my kids have been having a heyday. And I'm like, cool, you have all the wrong answers from conference. They're all over my house. So
I know, it was funny to see where they put like the wrong answers. Some of them just put them on like other pages, like the back page of their booklet. Some of them like had them on their shirt. Like some of them put them on their counselor's shirt. Like, oh, there was some random wrong answer stickers all over campus, but hopefully the right ones made it in their book.
I think I had like a sin sticker or something put on my nose the other day. And I was like, thank you.
Oh, Preston, thank you for that.
Really appreciate it. Gosh. Yeah, so then Friday nights we had our party, we had our worship session. I accidentally cut off the worship band. Completely forgot they had another song until much later in the evening too. I was sitting talking to my pastor and then like happened to look at the band and was like, were you guys supposed to come back and do more worship?
I looked at me in the back of the room and I was like, yeah, I think you were, but
I'm Kristen for you.
Just
you
forget
guys should have ran up there. They were so much more on edge the rest of the session. Like you could see, like if they thought I was wrapping up, they would like start to stand. I was like, I see you.
She's gonna say our name this time.
Technically, you guys could have run up there while I was praying. If I would have opened my eyes and the band was there, I would have definitely said, "Let's worship."
I definitely would have remembered then.
It's not completely my fault, is what I'm thinking. Oh my gosh, yeah. So then Friday night, I felt like that was a pretty chill night, honestly. It sounds like people went to bed.
Which was probably good.
Yeah, truly. What was it? I think the first year we did conference, we stayed up late year one, which year one, night one, I think everyone was pumped. Like even like our team was like, yeah, like here we go. And so we stayed up late with the campers. Well, then we did like s'mores and stuff the first night. And then the second night was the big party, except that all the campers were falling asleep at it because they were so tired. Which is why I always say like the party has to be Friday, because it was like we were like begging people to please take ice cream because we had this whole ice cream bar and they're all like they're not even in the like room where we had like glow dodgeball, we had like a glow party. They're like sitting at tables. It's like I'm so sorry, you guys.
Please eat sugar.
I'm like, come on, let's do this. We did session 2 and 3, and just feel free to jump in here if you had moments or memories you wanted to share on.
I think you skipped UGC-TV.
Gosh, how did I do that?
Not our segment, Krystian.
Ever. Yeah.
Keaton doesn't think it's the best show ever, but we do.
I think it's genius. I think it's only a matter of time before someone picks this show up.
We're gonna be a reality TV show any second now.
Surely. Yeah, no, UGC-TV is so fun.
Keaton was giving the next session when I dumped water. Okay. First of all, I didn't expect the umbrella just to collapse. It did, of course.
I really should see if I can put a clip in this.
If you can, you should. Because when I'm rolling on the concrete laughing, because I didn't mean to actually, but like I also wasn't mad that it happened. I like could not focus. And then there's all these like pictures of him like doing his session later, and he's just like soaking wet. So I'm like so sorry.
He's trying so hard to like he's like trying to be so focused too, you know, like he wanted to do so well speaking. Yeah, no, that was so fun. UGC-TV, it's like I don't even know how many people were actually watching it live because we got so many other things going on. We can't see that. Like we're not seeing any of those comments or anything, but yeah, it's very fun. It's kind of scripted, although, you know, things always go off the rails.
It's quite on script.
Yeah. Well, we went a little off script at the end because we decided that we needed to celebrate a certain bride. Now, here's where my plan failed a little bit, is that I forgot that everything would be delayed for the campers. They were definitely supposed to be at the door, like with the rose petals. And so when I ran in and like realized they were watching. I was like, oh,
Oh,
stay here for a second. The thought process, like the heart behind it was there, but
yeah, it was really sweet. It was fun.
we had to celebrate a little bit. Dakota, I will say, Dakota wanted to print a massive Trevin head and have someone be at the front of the room. And then we had session two, which Keaton and I got to do together, which was fun. You know, Keaton, this is the first year Keaton spoke at conference, and I feel like he does a really good job. And he, all the campers love Keaton, you know, and so I think that they're just naturally bought in, and he's so like animated when he speaks, and you know, I
Yeah,
think that was a good choice to have him up
he
there.
had really
Let's
good,
not
like,
talk about
give him too much credit. But he did have really good engaging sessions too. Like he always had an aspect that the campers could participate in. And so it was like
that.
cool to see them like work through the session too.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a bit nervous when he pulled out a hammer and nails for session three. So session two, Keaton and I did together, and then session three, Keaton did by himself. And it was about Noah obeying God. And I remember before the session, he had this board and nails and a hammer. And he's like, well, I'm going to nail stuff to this board. And I was like, okay. I did not put that in your sermon notes, but okay. It was good. It made sense.
Trying to
Yeah.
create breakout sessions off of Keaton's notes. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like one sentence, and I'm like, I know he's got a good point with this one. I know it's going to be great when he says it. Where am I going with this?
No, his session three though was good. He had all the campers write down one way they could be obedient, and you know, because we talked about, you know, radical obedience, and we didn't want the idea of radical obedience to be this like big concept that was like kind of hard to like really apply. Because sure, I believe that God can and will call our campers to big things. Like I do believe that we have campers that very much have their own forms of ministry and things like that, but you know, we wanted to make sure there were some really practical things that everyone could grasp. And so Keaton was kind of talking about, you know, there's lots of biblical commands, there's lots of things in the Bible that we can obey. God has already spoken to us with that. And so he had all the campers write out some way that like they could be obedient. And then he was talking about how it's obedience every day and it's nail after nail. And so how, you know, Noah didn't just like, the ark didn't just pop up. Like every day Noah continued to like, you know, nail after nail, board after board, build this boat. And so Noah's obedience was constant. I mean, he was constantly obeying that mission. And I thought that was really good. And then he started nailing some of those things up to the board, which was just good. I was like, okay, Keaton, all right.
Yeah. You made a really good point of like it's easier to show up to conference and like write a session and know this is what you're going to talk about, or make booklets and know that that's your job at conference, and like that form of obedience and like showing people to the Lord. But it's like way harder to be obedient every single day. So it's not always like some big act of like God asked you to build a boat like he did to Noah, but like he also asks us to be in our Bible, to pray for people, to love people. And so it was really cool to see him talk about how like there's these big grand gestures that we talk about being obedient, but it's also like in our everyday life too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really good. So we did mini sessions, which you wrote all of the mini sessions, which is pretty great.
Yes.
And I thought those were cool. So what?
Oh.
So I know I had a mini session. And so you had these different activities, and it was all ways like commands that God gives us in the Bible. So kind of really following up on all of that. So I had honor your father and mother, which I do appreciate that you gave a mother that one. I gave real life experience.
Good job.
But yeah. Yeah.
This mini session was keep your promises and keeping your words. So making sure that we're always being truthful and we're sharing the truth also in our everyday lives. And so we played a little game of if people would keep their silly promises, but then make sure we talk about how that plays out in everyday life. And if we tell someone we're going to do something, we should do it and we should keep our word and we should be accountable. And Keaton's was abide in me. And so they just talked about how we grow most, and we are only able to do the things we're able to do because of God. So we have to make sure we're staying connected to Him. And then Jake did one on Let Your Light Shine. So, how when we're fully open and sharing about God, people see our light and see our love. And when we let things dim that or cover it up or turn it off, then not everybody gets to learn about God in the way that we should openly share about it. So, I think that those went really well and were really fun to give campers practical ways to obey God, like we had been talking about all weekend.
Man, and then we did, so those were all of our sessions, and then we did dinner, and then we did dun, 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 counselor theater. Please
Yes.
explain yourself. I'm sure everyone would, I'm sure our counselors especially would love an explanation.
Okay, so when I'm planning UGC events, sometimes I sit down and I'm like, dang, nothing's coming to me today. Like, I'm not feeling very creative. And then sometimes I sit down and can write a whole UGC-TV and counselor theater script in 20 minutes. That was one of those nights. UGC-TV was talking about unicorns, and then counselor theater, they were just little elves in the woods that were hungry. And they ran into some obstacles on their way to the store. Keaton and Zelda the zebra were really having a great time. Kate had to give Zelda his best Christian pickup line, get her to move out of his way to get to the store.
Which he had immediately.
Yeah, like it took him 2 seconds to think about that. So,
I've been
Kate, when
shocked.
else did you use that?
I'm like, have you used this before? Like, where did this come from? I thought surely when you're like, oh, best Christian pickup line, that he'd be like, oh, and he just
Yeah.
immediately.
Okay, but if anyone would have one, it'd be Cade. And what else? There's this picture of Briley looking so concerned and me just dying laughing. And I wish I knew which moment that happened at, because that kind of is counselor theater in a nutshell. They all just kind of look at me like waiting for what crazy thing I'm going to ask them to do. And then I just sometimes can't stop laughing before I get the words out. And then there was a money gun. They had to collect their money blindfolded to pay for their items at the store.
So real quick, for those of you who are like, what on earth are you talking about? I thought this was like, a conference to bring people to Jesus. So counselor theater is our special tradition that happens Saturday night. And basically the counselor, it's just a fun way to like give the counselors kind of a turn to be silly and goofy. Not that they aren't throughout the week, but we have leadership teams and fun squads that are leading some of the other games and activities, and so this is a time to like give the counselors the spotlight. But Natalie writes a script, and the counselors don't see it ahead of time. They don't know, and so it's like kind of improv. And so they're just all up there on the stage, and then as Natalie says their name or something, like they just jump in and they just do whatever. And so we had Cade giving a Christian pickup line to a zebra. We had serenades. Alex sang to us. Nick turned into a tiger.
Yeah, Nick got his face.
One of the campers got to paint his face. Yeah.
Miley played Chubby Bunny once again. She's never getting out of that. So
I think it was so great when you were like, you like pulled out the marshmallows, and Miley's like, yes, I've been waiting for this.
She's like, I probably did ask you this.
She's like, I figured. She
got better this year, I think. I think she got more marshmallows this year than last year, so we're in for a treat next year.
I hope she's training now. My goodness. But yeah, honestly, that is a blast. Like, and the setup was perfect too, because I feel like we had like stadium seating, and then we had the big basketball court, and I feel like that was awesome. Plus, it wasn't a problem if we were like gonna make a mess or anything.
Yeah, we had time for room to spread out. Everyone could see.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
Was perfect.
Don't think you're getting out of talking about your act of counselor theater.
Yeah, and then I think we just went and we did s'mores, and that was the end of the evening. Keaton and I got put on the spot to do a little performance, which I should have known. With as much as you kept talking about the Domingo skit,
Okay, the
to
thing
like
is,
on SNL.
I added that in 5 minutes before Counselor Theater. I was like, okay, so I have Christian and Keaton. I was like, I'm gonna make them join in, but I was like, I just haven't like quite put my finger on what would be like the perfect thing to make them do. And I was like, wait a minute. Christian was singing the Domingo SNL skit the other day. Maybe that's what we should do. And then Brittany's like, oh yeah, make them do it together. Like make them improv together. And I was like, perfect idea. And then I was like, but does Keaton even know the like song? She's like, I don't know, let's find out. And she goes, Keaton, come here. She goes, have you seen the Domingo skit? And he's like, yeah, I've seen it. And we were like, okay. And just like stared at it. He was like,
Sounds good.
you called me over just for that? And we were like, yeah, go back to whatever you were doing. And then he
He
quickly
probably knew
realized
immediately. He's like, yeah.
we were
And
gonna
listen,
do.
here's the deal though. Out of all the fish kids, you pick the odds like 1 in 3, dude. 1 in 3. We're absolutely gonna be able to whip up a song within seconds. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm. I
we
was
did
actually
it.
kind of impressed. Like, at one point in the video, you just like take the microphone from Keaton. You're like, I actually know what's coming next. He's like singing his part, and you're like, yeah, now it's my turn.
I've got the chorus. I'm pretty sure I've got the chorus. And then what's funny is I immediately messed up the lyrics I had in my head. I was like, no.
And then giving the shimmy. The best
Yeah,
part of the
Brittany
video.
said, she goes, I think next year I may just film UGC like an office episode.
Stop.
And we just said, we're just going to mic up all the management team members and just start filming the whole thing. Because the pan to Blake doing a shimmy was the best part of that video. Oh my
It
God.
was giving office scene. Wait, that would be perfect.
It was, yeah, yeah. So then, okay, so we did do counselor theater. Then we went and did a bonfire. We made s'mores, which was fun. I felt like that was like everyone was just so chill and just kind of hanging out, which was awesome. But then we did an impromptu worship night. So we were supposed to stop after s'mores, go to bed. That was the end. But I noticed Saturday morning, I was like, dude, our campers love worship, and they are kind of bummed every time the worship is done. They're like they always wanted more. So we asked the team that afternoon because we brought in a worship team this year. We're like, would you guys be willing to do like a late night worship? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So we did like an 8:30 worship, and man, I think that was my favorite part of conference.
I think that was my
Which is
favorite part too.
actually the thing we didn't plan is what was, but that's what happens. That's we all our team always prays at the beginning of the weekend. God, we have made plans, but if you need to ruin them, we are ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And not that that really ruined plans, but like it's the way God just moves and like makes other things happen. Like that's what I love about UGC is like always my favorite moments are things that we didn't expect to do or that like on a whim. But I think the band had like 2 hours worth of worship. We were there from 8:30 to 10:30. I think these kids could have gone for another hour. Like
Yeah, they
they
stopped.
were
They're like, more.
all about it. And it wasn't even like there were some songs that were fun and it was like jump around or whatever, but like I feel like it was worship. Like it wasn't a dance party. It wasn't like, oh yeah, there's music and so we want to be what the music is. Like I really believe like watching at one point I kind of just stepped back and was just watching everyone, our campers and our counselors, like just seeing people just take the time to just truly worship and just like abandon trying to look cool or like it was about their relationship with Christ and it was about worshiping God. And that was beautiful.
Yeah,
That was
there was
so
a
cool.
point at the end where I just like was looking. He was like, "This is the last song," and like I was just looking around. I like stepped back and I was like, "Whoa! Like this is like what God's been telling us He was gonna do this whole time." Like we pictured a room full of our favorite people worshiping together, and I feel like yeah, we've worshipped at other ones, but like lights were off. People were just like really worshiping, and like I just got like tears in my eyes because I was like, it's like the sweetest thing. Like I know that God's been working through like every single conference we've had and every event we've had, but this was like the first time where I was like, this is what he told us would happen. Like we knew this was
Yeah.
coming, and like he told us, like he was like, you're gonna have a room full of your guys' favorite people, and you're all just gonna worship together, and you're gonna grow together. And at that point, I was like, whoa, like God's really nice. Like he told us this was gonna happen, and it happened, and I was like, I just like was crying for a second because I was like, this is like the sweetest thing, like, and it truly is like just some of our favorite people all in the same room for the same purpose.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that till you just said that right now. So now I'm gonna get teary eyed. But like, you're right. Like that is like, I don't know how I hadn't caught that till right now. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, when I first got this idea for conference, I really believe like God gave me a vision of like what it would look like. And you're right. We have talked about that before, that one of the visions I saw was campers smiling and jumping up and down and worshiping. And you're right. That is like, that night is what that looked like. And I can't believe that I hadn't thought about that before. But yeah, we got to add that. I was looking through our counselor uh, evaluations, and someone put, you've got to put a late night worship next year too. And I was like, trust me, I would
We
do it
will.
over the party. I mean, parties are fun, but like,
Mm-hmm.
that was cool. That was really neat. Yeah,
It was so cool to see
yeah,
like how many of them chose like to come worship. We were like, okay, we had our s'mores. Like it was like yeah, like 8:30. Like we knew they were exhausted, and we were like, if you guys need to go to bed, like we totally understand. Like this is not mandatory, but like we'll be worshiping in the sanctuary if you want to join us. And almost all of them chose to join us, and it was just really cool that they were
yeah,
like an hour before they were all like really tired. They were like they had so much fun all weekend, but it was the end of the weekend, and then we said worship, and they were like, "Yep, I'll be there."
yeah, yeah. Because yeah, like a few stayed back, and we had counselors that stayed back with like, we didn't just leave anyone. For parents that are like, wait, what happened? No, everything was good. Ratios were good, but yeah, it was the majority. And what was fun is like at the beginning there were like maybe 15 kids in total, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like all the others went to sleep, and then like by the end of the first song, like a whole other chunk came, and I was like, okay. I mean, I think only like three, maybe five campers stayed back,
Yeah,
um, and that's fine. I mean, dang, it was exhausting. Like people need their sleep, but that was just a cool moment to have with those
yeah.
campers. And yeah, I remember. So I got to join the team for the last song, and that was fun. I had my eyes closed, and I remember opening my eyes and like looking around the room. Oh my goodness, there were like campers praying over each other. There were some that were just like on their knees, hands up. There were some just like laying on the floor, like praying. Like I could hear them like praying out loud. And um, I mean, that's so cool. Like, I mean, for anyone who thinks that we just do like a cute little conference and, we just do some like little Bible stories, it's like, no, it's just so much more than that. Like, it is deeper than that.
And every year I'm like, oh, I just like hope that everything makes sense. Like I hope that they learn and they grow. Like every year I learn and grow, and like I just see them like learn and grow way more than I ever could have like thought or imagined. And so it's really cool. Like every year I'm like, I don't know why I keep like not questioning it, but like I'm just like I hope, like I just pray over and over that they'll all understand and that they'll grow in their relationship with Christ. And every year I'm just blown away by how much they actually do.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And then Sunday was the big wrap up. We took our photo. We had our matching shirts on. I loved the long sleeve.
The long
That was
sleeves were
cute and cozy. I think we have to do long sleeve next year too. But
different.
and we do family session to wrap up, and it's just fun to have the parents there. I love watching the parents a little bit because like they're
Mhm.
watching their campers, and especially like those who have been here for a few years, I think they appreciate it. And but I kind of like watching the new parents each year that are like there's my son worshiping, or like just like in this room, your child being louder or your child jumping around, your child, none of that is disrupting anything. That's what this room was created for. Like, this is the safe place. And so I love for parents to see that. And that's the same thing at family weekend. It's like a place where I'm like, no, mama, breathe, because nobody is disrupting anything. This is what this was created for. And so I just like to see that moment for parents when they're like, man, this is cool.
Family session's always one of my favorites because it's like, first of all, you just get to see them like reunite with their campers, and it's like really sweet because they are like, oh my gosh, like what'd you learn? And then their campers like, I learned this, this, and this. And so like hearing them not only like respond to us with like, oh yeah, you talked about this weekend, like for them to see their parents and be able to explain to them like what they learned is so cool. It's like one of my favorite parts every year, and it's just awesome to just watch their parents watch them, and like they are in their space, they're in their comfy space, so they're like grabbing their parents like, come on mom, come on dad, like I want to show you what we've been doing. And so it's so cool to like their parents just like light up too. And it's like, I think one of our campers like favorite parts, just like being like, mom, but like look what I did all weekend. Like,
Yeah.
I know you're seeing this like hour of it, but we've been doing this for 2 days now, and like this is what I learned. And yeah, not only did their campers have like a safe and comfortable environment all weekend, but they like learned and they grew. And so yeah, that's always one of my favorite parts.
Wait, what do you say, Nat? Should we just do a summer camp too? Like, should we just do this thing for a whole week?
Yeah, probably all summer actually.
I mean, that's not an announcement for families who are like, what dates should we put down? That's not an announcement. I'm just saying.
I'm not against it. Let me know when you're ready.
I want to worship with our friends for a whole week. Can you imagine?
Yeah. No, I can't actually, because I'm like, that would just be like so cool. But it's like when you go to church camp from like Monday through Friday, like growing up, it's like, imagine that, but like with all of our favorite people.
Yeah. Well, and like honestly, every time I walked by that pool, I was like, man, we gotta do this when we can get in that pool and the rock wall and everything. I was like, I think we need to do a warm version of UGC. Comment below. Vote below if you guys agree with us. Let us know. We are now taking data as of this moment right now. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Anything else I missed or thoughts you have from conference?
I feel like one of my biggest things also is just like watching our counselors too. Like we do a lot of planning on the back end, but that weekend, like they're like the biggest deal in terms of like our volunteers and staff and stuff. So it's like getting to watch them interact with our campers is like really cool too. And especially we had lots of new volunteers this year. And so getting to see them like and our campers connect with them so easily and so fast, like they were all like amazing. And so I think that's one of my favorite parts too, is just getting to watch them like put together everything that we've talked about and just see them put everything into action that has been planned for a year in advance. So yeah.
We had such a solid team. Like that was this was such a good team. Like I was telling all of them at checkout, I'm like, you need to come back. Like, let's keep this team together.
Honestly, yeah, they were all great. Yeah. So I think that.
And it was even cool to watch. Like that first breakout session, Friday night after the session, everyone just kind of stayed in the sanctuary at their own tables and stuff. And it's so cool because, like you and I especially, we talk and work a lot on like how will we present these main points and like what graphics will we use and wording and like, we work on all that. But it's cool to then watch a cabin counselor and how they explain something. Because they all have groups. The groups are created based on like understanding of faith and ability and needs. And like there's so many factors that go into making a breakout group. I mean, they are not haphazard groups. And so then just to watch our counselors just like figure out their group and be able to start explaining in other ways and things, like I just think that's cool too. I'm like, I don't think our cabin counselors understand how good they are at ministry.
Uh-huh.
You
And
know,
like
like they're
we
doing
give
individualized ministry.
yeah, we give them bullet points. I'm like, these are things that you can or should like bring up, and like this is an activity that should help tie those together. But then like watching them take those and like each group makes it like their own version and like meets their campers' needs so easily and so fast with zero questions asked. And I'm always like, let me know if you need anything or if something doesn't make sense. And nobody calls me because they're like, no, we got this. Like you gave us the foundation and like we've got it from here. Like, and so it was really cool to see them like meet every individual's needs too throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll wrap it up. I think you're my longest podcast episode of this year. Go us. Not surprised, but yeah, I think it was a great week. I'm already praying and working on next year. And obviously, we were talking about next year's plans yesterday. So, no, we'll be there for
Yeah,
sure. We are RSVP.
calendar.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you, Natalie. Like you killed it this year. You really, really did. Like you've just grown so much this year, and it's been fun to watch you walk with a new confidence and just like the way you just took charge of things, and just like this education piece is just natural to you. Or maybe it's not. If it's not, you do a real good job of making it look like it is, because I just like I have a booklet on my table that I look at every day. Like I'm just so proud of it. Like I just think it's awesome. So and Natalie's working on all kinds of other stuff too that's going to be so helpful to families. Like this is just the beginning of what she's been working on. So I'm excited for all of that. I'm excited for you to get married this weekend. Well, by the time this episode airs, you will already be married. But yeah, we should have changed your name, Natalie Reynolds. Yeah, I'm proud of you. You got to stick around forever.
I will.
I'll be going. Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of Whole Potato Podcast. I hope this was just a fun insight to what conference looked like from our point of view. If you had a camper at conference, let us know. Comment below or send us an email. Share what your campers have been saying and how it's been helpful, because we love hearing that. We love seeing the testimonies and knowing that there's fruit to this labor. We know there is, because we know that God is blessing all of it and that he is leading all of this. It's not our ideas, it's his, but it's always fun to see that. So with that, let's wrap up this episode. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you next week.